So a few people ask me what I do for lighting when I'm at camping, and one thing I didn't want to do was to fit lights onto my roof rack permanently and having to wire all the switches in. I was thinking about doing it, but it ended up being a bit too much of a faff. So a friend of mine, Matt Allison, who you've probably already seen on other videos, showed me a product on Amazon on strip lighting that runs on a USB, only runs a couple of amps, and is dead cheap as well. So I bought 2 packs. Well, I bought one actually. Tested it, fantastic, and basically they come in little bags like so. So these are strip lighting. You can use them, plug them into your computer, your laptop, anything that's got a USB port, and they're very minimal power, and they light up pretty good. They have the magnetic strips. They come with a bag, and they come with 3 rubber kind of ties, really, which are really good. And I use these for tying on my awning inside the car, or working underneath the car, wherever I need them, really. Sometimes I've plugged them into a battery pack, and they last a good couple hours, probably even more than that, and they've been great. I have noticed though, when you buy them, if you use them too much, on the older ones, the rubber or the glue melts a little bit, and if you do pull it a little bit, the LED strip from the rubber housing comes away, as you can see from this one. So this has got probably about 4 or 5 times, so you can see it's starting to come away. Now I pulled it a few times just because I've been trying to put stuff away, but it's a matter of impossible. It's impossible to try and push it back in. So, but it still works. Not a big deal. But these were about £8 for the actual bag, the ties, and the actual LED strip, compared to some more expensive ones. Now people would say, well, I could have spent £30 and they would last me for years. These might last me maybe 6 months, but I've spent 3 times less than what I would normally do. So what I've done is I've put some insulation, some heat shrink to stop it from coming away. So that's one of them. This week I wanted to get a few more, only because they're great for putting in the tent, and with my dual battery system in the car I can run them nearly all night and not worry about needing light. But I only have one switch that switches the power from the back, and with these you can actually buy them with a touch switch already wired in. So I purchased 2 of these with the roller. I weren't too fussed about that, with the switch, for 15 quid. It still comes with a bag with 4 tie down rings, cables, and exactly the same piece of material with 4 magnets as well, so you don't have to use the tie downs, you can use the magnets. And again, I've also insulated the connector. The newer ones have another rubber kind of sleeve, but this just stops it from moving completely because there's still a bit of movement. It takes about 5 minutes, and it has the touch switch on the light. So still USB port. So I've not tested these yet to see what they're like, but I'll show you where I put them under the awning, and how bright they are as well. 2 of them, you probably only need 1 really, but 2 of them gives you enough light to sit under the awning, cook, or do whatever you kind of want with them, really. Some other products like these have like a waterproof casing inside Front Runner do them for about £30–40. There's other companies that sell them as well for less than what Amazon sell them for. But I find these do the job really. If they last me a year, great. It's only cost me £8 for the single ones, 7–8 quid for these. So what we'll do is we'll put them on, plug them in, and I'll show you how they work. So you can see I've plugged my switch into the back. So at the moment I've switched it on, running at 12.8 volts. The cable is long enough. I'd probably say it's just over 1.5 meters. Okay, and I've put the rubber tie downs and I just run it across the length of the pole. Now the actual pole is 1.8 meters long, okay, so the length is probably just over 2 meters, the light, which is pretty long. So you can see by the switch, you only need to lightly press it and it lights up. Now it is still pretty daylight outside, but you can see how pretty light, or how bright the actual LED strips are. And 2 of them is pretty enough for under the awning. Now what I usually use, because some of the shorter ones, the singular ones with no switch on, the cable's a little bit shorter. So what I do use is a USB extension cable. So I have one here, and basically I just plug that into the mains port and just feed it wherever. So for the awning further down, I'll run the extension cable there, or maybe if I plug it into the tent and I want it inside the tent, I can just run it through there and leave the battery pack outside. Either way, but that's how I use it. So you only need to lightly press the button and they come on. Not much else to it really. Really handy, and for £8 you can't go wrong. And for another example, you can see here I've just fastened the light to the back of the car by just magnetic strips. So little magnetic sections that they come with 4 on the newer ones, and they just, if your car is magnetic, which I know some of the Land Rovers aren't, especially the Defenders with them being aluminium, but again, you, instead of fastening them on with the tie downs, you can just stick them on, as long as it's not too windy. But again, it gives you a bit of backlight if needs be, which is really handy. People would say, well, I'd rather just have 2 spotlights on either side, but then when you fasten them and cable them all up, they're fixed on there then, and you might not want the lights on there all the time. You might want to move them. So these, you know, once I finish under the awning or I'm in the tent, I can just take them out of the car and put them in the tent, which is really handy. Or I might want them inside the car if needs be, but the interior lights are pretty bright anyway, so there's no need for the strip lights. So if you like those lights, I'll put all the information of where to find them on the description down below. And if you've got any other questions regarding any other lighting or what else I use when camping, ask me some questions in the comments below. Also, don't forget, if you're first time watching, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content and click the like button. So anyway, more info on what I'm going to do in the back of the chimney shortly. I won't spoil the surprise, but there is something coming very shortly. So in the meantime, keep watching our videos, and we'll catch you soon. See you later, guys.